What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Green Zone. It is the NFL Week 14 and College Football Championship Weekend edition of the show. As always, I'm your host, Sean Redden. We have a lot of bets this week, parlay today, as always. And then I also have three bets at the end of the show that I'll give out for College Football Championship Saturday. So, nonetheless, let's get started. And we're going to start off with the Dolphins at the Jets. The Dolphins are a 2.5 point favorite with the over under at 41.5. I said last week I liked the Jets, but I couldn't stomach betting them, and they would have actually got it done for us. But I'm still in the same boat here. If they were getting more points, then maybe I would be interested, but not currently. I'm also never going to back Tua and the Dolphins traveling up north to play a cold weather game. So this is going to be a pass for me in the Dolphins Jets. Next game up is the Steelers at the Ravens. The Ravens are a 6 point favorite with the over under at 42.5. I would personally only lay it with the Ravens, but I'm not going to because Lamar looked brutal last week, and I was just chalking that up to it being a bad game. But then he missed practice twice this week with an ankle injury. So if he was a full go on Friday, but still, I'm sure he's not 100%. And an ankle injury on a quarterback that relies on his mobility is not something that I really want to get behind. The Steelers are trending down, so it would be the Ravens or nothing for me in this game. But I really want to see how Lamar looks and how much he's hindered by that ankle injury before I play on him. So nothing for me in Steelers Ravens. Next up is the Saints at the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are an 8.5 point favorite with the over under at 41.5. I said it was ugly last week that we were back in the Saints, but they got us home and showing value on them again, mainly because I'm just so down on the Bucs team compared to the market. I think this is too many points for them to be laying versus anyone. Their best offensive lineman, who's one of the better offensive linemen in the entire NFL, and Tristan Wirfs missed 2 days of practice this week, and he's questionable with an oblique injury. Would be a big blow to their offense if he can't go or isn't 100%. The Bucs won last week, but the Cardinals actually had a higher success rate and had more yards per play in that game. The Saints aren't a good team by any means, but I'm not sure the market has really caught up to how well Tyler Shuck is playing since he became the quarterback and how good that, not good, but like how improved that offense has looked since he took over. I think this is going to be another ugly bet. It's probably going to be a sweaty one, but I'm going to back the Saints plus 8.5 here. Next up is the Colts at the Jaguars. The Colts are a 1.5 point favorite with the over under at 46.5. I don't really have confidence in either side right now with Daniel Jones, obviously dealing with his fibula injury. And then the Jaguars are just too inconsistent for me to want to back. I would probably lean the Colts just because they can lean on Jonathan Taylor and the run game. I think they have the defensive edge versus the Jaguars as well, but I don't like it enough to play it in this one, so I'm staying away from the Colts at the Jaguars. Next game up is the Titans at the Browns. The Browns are a 4.5 point favorite with the over under at 33.5. Look, are you kidding me? I'm not even thinking about betting this game. It's two of the worst teams in football. Cam Ward, first overall pick, obviously going to be versus Shedeur Sanders, who everybody argued should have been a top 10 pick. So that's going to be an intriguing matchup. But from a betting standpoint, I have zero interest in this game. If you put a gun to my head and made me make a pick, I would probably take the under. But I'm not interested at all in this Titans-Browns game. Next up is the Commanders at the Vikings. The Commanders are a 1.5 point favorite with the over under at 43.5. The Vikings have to figure out something offensively, and it obviously starts at the quarterback position. They're getting JJ McCarthy back in this game, but he's been terrible so far. So I don't think you can trust him even against his lackluster Commanders defense, who's been kind of playing better since Dan Quinn took over as a defensive play caller. And the Commanders on offense, I really don't know what to expect from Jaden Daniels here. He's going to be making the start this week in his first game back since his elbow injury. It is on his non-throwing arm, but how scared is he going to be to run and maybe take a hit on that elbow, which if he's not willing to run, it's really going to hinder him and this Commanders offense. So no play for me in this one, the Commanders Vikings. I promise we're getting to some bets. Just a couple passes early on. Next up is the Seahawks at the Vikings. The Seahawks are a 6.5 point favorite with the over under at 44.5. The Seahawks offense was lackluster last week. The defense was able to make up for it though with the absolute abysmal quarterback play that the Vikings had. Now Kirk Cousins isn't going to be anywhere near as bad as Brosner was last week for the Vikings, but he can't move. And the Seattle defense is going to be able to get a pass rush and get after the quarterback, only rushing four. So again, they're always going to be sticky in coverage. And the Falcons are also going to be without Drake London in this game. I expect Seattle to be able to limit the explosiveness of Bijan Robinson and on the ground and make it hard for this Falcons offense to really generate points. And on the other hand, the Seahawks have been giving up some interior pressure recently, and that is the strength of this Falcons defense. So I'm not expecting a crazy run up and down the field performance like we've seen from the Seahawks numerous times this season. I'm thinking it's going to be a low scoring game, but I do think Seattle is going to be enough to get this cover. I'm going to be on Seattle minus the 6.5, and I'm also going to be on the under 44.5. Next up is the Bengals at the Bills. The Bills are a 6-point favorite with the over under at 53.5. If I get beat by these two quarterbacks, then so be it. But I really like this under in this game. Maybe I'm an idiot, but this total being in the 50s stunned me. The weather in Buffalo for this game is expected to be 24 degrees, and they're calling for definite snow showers throughout the entirety of the game. I think both offenses are going to want to be primarily run first offense and not really going to hit a lot of explosive plays downfield. I know the Bengals defense is really bad and this Bills defense has been really inconsistent to say the least, but I just can't get to a number this high in a weather impacted game. I'm going to be taking the under 53.5 in the Bills Bengals. Next game up is the Broncos at the Raiders. The Broncos are a 7.5-point favorite with the over under at 40.5. The Raiders, in all likelihood, are going to be without Max Crosby in this game, which is a big blow to their defense. And on offense, they're also dealing with two additional injuries on their O-line, in addition to already being out Jackson Powers-Johnson. So I really don't see any path of success for this Raiders offense to be able to put up points against this really good Broncos defense. The Broncos, on the other hand, aren't an explosive offense, and yeah, Max Crosby being out would help the Broncos offense, obviously. But sorry, I lost where I was at. But the Colts are, but the Sean Payton is not, his MO isn't really to like run up the scores on teams. He in games like this where they're expected to win and they can win comfortably, he's more of a ball control guy, get in the game, get the W, and get out healthy. So I don't see them really running the score up in this one, and I like the under 40.5. If the Broncos score 30 plus, which I think is the only way that we would lose this bet, then so be it. I'll have to live with it. But I do like the under 40.5 here in the Broncos Raiders. Next game up is the Bears at the Packers. The Packers are a 6.5-point favorite with the over under at 44.5. I'm going to hold off on this one just to hope a 7 appears. But if it doesn't, I'm still going to pull the trigger on the plus 6.5 for the Bears. I just don't see this many points difference between these two teams. Admittedly, I am lower on the Packers than most. The offense just doesn't do it for me. And the Bears are getting healthier on defense by the week. I trust Ben Johnson to be able to come up with the game plan, to scheme up a productive game plan for the Bears offense as well. I know I have been a guy who keeps saying the Bears are like the luckiest team in the NFL. And at some point, like you would expect it to regress back to the mean. But I also said the same thing about the Commanders last year, and it just never happened. They just kept winning. So maybe that's going to be the Bears this year. So I'm going to back the Bears in this spot. Give me the Bears plus 6.5. I'm going to hold out and hope for a 7 come tomorrow. But if it doesn't appear, I will pull the trigger on the 6.5 with the Bears. Next game up is the Rams at the Cardinals. The Rams are an 8.5-point favorite with the over under at 47.5. I lean to the over here, but with the injuries on defense for both sides. But now Marvin Harrison is also going to be out again for the Cardinals in this one. I just really don't have a lot of confidence in anything total or sidewise in this game. So it's going to be a pass for me in the Rams Cardinals. Next game up, Sunday Night Football, is going to be the Texans at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a 3.5-point favorite with the over under at 41.5. The Chiefs may be without 3 offensive linemen in this game, and the Texans' defense is probably the last defense that you want to face without a healthy O-line. On defense, the Chiefs are down this year themselves. They are bottom 12 in EPA per play, and it's kind of funny when the Chiefs' run started, it was the offense carrying the defense, and then it turned into the defense kind of picking up the slack for the offense, and now this season, neither side has really been consistent with their production. I really feel like the market just refuses to really value what this Chiefs team is this year and just keeps relying on that they're the Chiefs and they've been great for a few years. They're not this year. And I think the market hasn't really adjusted to that. I like the Texans here catching 3.5. I'm going to take the Texans plus 3.5. Now, the last game of the week, Monday Night Football, the Eagles at the Chargers. The Eagles are a 2.5 point favorite with the over under at 41.5. The biggest question mark in this game is, will Justin Herbert play? He just had hand surgery on Monday, and he's been back at practice, but he hasn't taken any actual snaps from the center. And I think people are underestimating this injury because it's on his non-throwing hand, but it undoubtedly will be painful just to take a snap on that hand consistently. So even if he does play, I think it's something that will be bothering him the whole time. And on top of that, the Chargers are obviously still without both of their tackles in this game, Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. And Vic Fangio is going to dial up the pressure. Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, and Jalen Phillips should be able to have their way with these backup linemen on the Chargers offense. And I think they're going to harass Herbert all game. And then obviously the Eagles offense has stunk. I mean, it's a big concern, but I like how they match up against this Chargers defense. And we don't need them to go crazy. We just need them to win by 3 points, and we're going to get home on this bet. And I think they're going to get it done here. I like the Eagles minus 2.5. So to recap, if you missed, we want my analysis for every game, you can go back and watch the game. The feed is always on YouTube, so if you missed something, you can go back, and if you want an explanation, it'll be right there. But nonetheless, we're going to give out my red hot locks for the week, and then we're going to move on to parlay today and college football for later today as well. So the red hot locks are Saints plus 8.5 for a half unit, the Seahawks minus 6.5 for a half unit, the Seahawks Falcons under 44.5 for a full unit, the Bengals Bills under 43.5 for a unit and a half, the Broncos Raiders under 40.5 for a half unit, the Bears plus 6.5 for a half unit, the Texans plus 3.5 for a half unit, and then the Eagles minus 2.5 on Monday Night Football for a unit and a half as well. So the parlay of the day that takes us to that. As always, it's going to be 3 legs, 1 unit on it, plus 595. And this week's is going to be the Seahawks Falcons under 44.5, the Bengals Bills under 52.5, and then the Eagles minus 2.5. It's going to be your parlay of the day this week. 3 legs, 1 unit, plus 595 this week. And again, if you missed it, they're scrolling right across the bottom there for you. I'll let it run through one more time, and then we're going to move on to our college football plays. I do not have a play on BYU Texas Tech, which is the noon game, but we have the afternoon and night slates that we're going to be targeting in this one. And here they are again. They're going to be scrolling across the bottom. So the first game up that we're betting is Georgia Alabama. Georgia is a 1.5 point favorite. I'm going to be laying 1.5 with Georgia against Alabama in this game for a full unit. And I'm going to be taking Georgia running back Chauncey Bowens over 30.5 for a full unit as well. I think these two teams are just in different spots than when they met earlier this season. Alabama has not been playing good football in over a month. You'd have to go back to October 4th, their win over Vanderbilt, to find the last time I was really impressed with the Bama performance. Since then, they survived an overrated Missouri team, handled an overrated Tennessee team. Neither Missouri or Tennessee has beaten a team with a winning record this whole season. Then they survived a bad South Carolina team, was in a dogfight versus a plummeting LSU team, lost to Oklahoma at home, who has a quarterback that can barely complete a pass since his hand surgery, and then they barely survived versus the Auburn team, who not only stinks, was without their head coach, and Auburn even outgained Alabama by 130 yards in that game, and Auburn had a backup quarterback, and they still put up over 400 yards of total offense against this Alabama defense. The scary part is Alabama is 10-1 against this Georgia team since 2008. Georgia's only win came in that national championship game victory. But these programs, this is out something about it. Georgia just never gets it done versus Alabama. But I do think Georgia should be able to hit this Bama defense consistently up the middle on the ground where Bama struggles against the run. On defense, Georgia is the best tackling team in the country, which they will need to rely on with these Bama receivers in space because Bama also cannot run the ball at all this season. And so I do like the Bulldogs to be able to get it done. I'm also going to be playing Chauncey Bowen over 30 or 30 and a half rush yards for a full unit. He's coming off an injury, but Kirby Smart said he's good to go in this one. And the last time he played Bama, he had 9 carries for 112 yards. Now, Frazier is the lead back in this Georgia backfield, but he's had some fumbling issues, and I think that's going to lead to more opportunities for Bowen in this one. So give me Georgia minus 1.5 for a full unit and Chauncey Bowen's over 30 and a half for a half unit as well. And then the last game we're going to be betting on is Indiana plus 4.5 against Ohio State for a half unit. This would be a full unit bet for me, but we aren't getting the best of the number here at 4, so it's just a half unit play for me. I've had Indiana rated higher than Ohio State for most of the season, mainly because they just absolutely bully teams up front. The offensive line comes out and hits you in the mouth, and they do it for 4 quarters, and that really wears on a defense. They also have 2 running backs who are really productive. They both are averaging over 3.6 yards after contact and can also rip off explosives as well. They also lead the country in staying in standard downs, like 3rd and 2, 2nd and 6, and under and downs like that. And it's because they don't get knocked backwards on the line, and these running backs hit the holes and get upfield. Ohio State wants to throw the ball over the field, and rightfully so. I mean, you have Jeremiah Smith and Cardinal Tate, 2 of the best wide receivers in the country, but that also plays into the strength of this Indiana defense. Indiana struggles with teams who run a lot of 12 personnel and like to pound it on the ground, like we saw with Penn State earlier this year, being able to hang around with Indiana. I just like the matchup for Indiana stylistically against Ohio State, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game outright. So give me Indiana plus 4.5. So the college football locks for today are Georgia minus 1.5 for a full unit against Alabama. Chauncey Bowens, the Georgia running back, over 30 and a half rush yards for a full unit as well. And then end it with Indiana plus 4.5 versus Ohio State for a half unit. If people are just coming back in, I'll throw my NFL Red Hot Locks back up there to scroll on the bottom of your screen. But that's all I have for you today. As always, best of luck, bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you next week.